same deal. It's not a tremendous amount of money. It's like 6 or 7 grand we have as a balance today. So it's not huge, but.
Right, but it just doesn't make sense to form one entity that can do all, and if the Arbor Board members would, have an input or go be on the trail board, well then, we try to figure a way to get them in. Because we don't have them on parks. So we do have people every now and again that, we have a current service, but it's a vacancy, so we could easily slide.
I don't think we need to increase the size of any board.
No.
At the parks. I think what do you got, 6 or 7 members now? Maybe 5, yep.
It would be easy for
And
a light power representative to do a quarterly, biannually report as well. If you're trying to put together a tree plan, let's find out what light and power's doing before we do that, not after. Like, here's a tree plan, and now in 3 years, we gotta spend money to trim from this tree plan. What do you think?
Me?
which would be your recommendation, sir?
My recommendation probably would be to have the Arbor Board in some way, shape, or form, and have the tree plan, whether you move it to the park board or keep it yourself. To me, it doesn't matter. But I just want to make it, the biggest thing is I just think we realize that a lot of these tree removals and things that come up are really the scope of myself and Charlie. And, we can always communicate that.
I do believe we do have a pretty good plan for the trees and what that looks like. So it'd be just taking that, giving that information to the parks and putting it under there, what the big tree plan looks like.
Yeah, I'm not against the idea of having a comprehensive tree plan by any means.
No, maybe.
Which we have, and I would say keep that going, however you want to do it, that's really, how, up to the city council, but I also don't think I should have to go to this board to get approval to remove tree. We should have conversation, okay, at the beginning of the year when we're putting the tree plan together, okay, these are the trees we think have to go down, and this is our plan to replace it.
But to address that, Mike, the issue that we're seeing in public works is trees. We have a lot of old, mature trees that are in need of something being done to them. And if you recall down on South Jefferson, I think it was, while we're cutting trees around the corner, wind kicks up, takes out a tree. That wasn't even on our list to cut at that time. It was on our list of, hey, it's another old tree that something needs to be done on. And we've cut a few other ones down there, but the problem that I see with the comprehensive tree plan is it's very difficult to have a plan say, okay, each tree this we're going to do, these are the trees we're going to take out, because things change over time, and it's really, in my opinion, very difficult unless you're an arborist looking at these things all the time to go out and say, well, these are the trees we need to put on a list to take down. Now, that being said, with the light and power end of it, the trees they look at, again, are in the power lines. We don't want to lose power. We don't want to have somebody get hurt because of a tree in the power line or a storm. So, I mean, they look at it a little differently, but overall, in my opinion, to make a comprehensive tree plan for removal of trees is difficult to be specific on. And I think if you look at the plan, the last one that was put together, that there's a lot of generalities in there. Take a look at the trees up by the cemetery, make sure that they're all taken care of. And things, and certain sections of towns, and basically it's a little more vague. It's trying to keep our ideas open. I mean, we want to take care of the trees, we want to make them safe, we don't want something falling in somebody's house or hurting somebody. But at the same time too, it's very difficult. And if you recall, I think we spent $10,000 or so on trees this past calendar year on removals. If you recall, we had a lot of large ones around town. Well, because they were in need of coming down. They were big limbs coming down. We had a lady call crying because she thought it was going to fall and hit her house, and looking at it, and I've been a little leery too. So those are the things that we're looking at with this. And like I said, when you have the comprehensive tree plan, I think it's nice to have that plan so people know we are looking at things. But I also think it's very important. One thing I've learned in all my years, you don't cut a tree down in front of somebody's house or business without telling them first. And without having some ideas of what you're gonna do next, because whether it's their tree or not, it's their tree. If it's even, it's in the right of way, so it's, I mean, it's just a kind of courtesy to let them know. Sometimes it's hard to when something's broke and you notice a tree's cracked and it's creaking in the wind and you don't want it to fall on somebody. So it's kind of a, in my opinion, a gray area of trying to keep up on everything, but the bottom line, end of the day, want to make things safe, want to have things looking good, we don't want anybody getting hurt, and we want to make sure the community's taken care of, right, and we try real hard to do that.
And communicate what we're doing.
Yes,
Right.
communicate, and that's, you know, to be honest with the Bowles Road trees, I don't have a problem with them coming down, and there's 25 of them, the other 13 are, I believe, some sort of a pear tree that's going to grow up even taller yet too, so they were not in the right spot for what those trees were. And there's a lot of other trees out there that don't grow that tall that would have been better. But anyway, that was a long time ago, said and done.
Yep.
Something needs to be done with it. But my contention's always been, what's the plan? We need a plan because the minute we do it, I mean, you all see social media, it explodes on things. You know, if you're not ahead of it, you're going to get beat
Yeah,
up.
and
And that's
I
why
couldn't tell the
it's
difference between a healthy 100-year-old tree and a diseased 100-year-old tree, you know, by looking at it.
You can go out front and see a perfect example why there's fruit-bearing trees over a sidewalk.
That tree, once the Monroe project done, that tree needs to be replaced. It has to be replaced.
Oh,
Chain myself.
And I will actually deem that as a public safety issue under the ordinance when it does happen.
From the light and power side, I just want to echo what Dan said. You know, for us, we have strategies, forward-looking strategies to address large areas, but on an annual basis, we hit hotspots that cause problems that, you know, the trees and where we interact with them change year over year. That top portion growing, one year you may not get a ton of growth and you may think that you have a couple years left. And the next spring, it's wet and warm and all of a sudden, a tree that was 2 or 3 years out is back on our radar. So you know, we would just be seeking some more guidance, I guess, and general strategies to adopt. Obviously, you know, one of our priorities is reliability, but we also are part of the community we serve, so we want to consider the wishes and intentions of City Council, of the residents, and we want to make sure that we're addressing the issues holistically, not just from a single point, but you know, specifically the trees on Bowles Road is the largest concentration of trees that are alarming to us. So talking with Ryan, if we can get this issue addressed, we really get onto a longer-term maintenance plan. The majority of the large trees that cause issues that are planted directly under the power lines will have been addressed, and now the trees that cause issues sit a little further back, and it's just maintaining and trimming some, which we did quite a bit on Bowles Road this year as well, just to peel them back, but we didn't need to take out any whole trees. So I want to say that you know, Mike and I have worked real well together trying to come up with a resolution, and you know, the intention is to try and wholesale replace all of them, but we've discussed some other options and have some strategies in place to address the most immediate needs immediately, and then work on future needs as the time comes. But if there's a grant opportunity to wholesale replace, then we feel like that'd be the best course of action to deal with the problem once and not ask ratepayers or taxpayers to fund the ongoing maintenance of these trees.
Yeah, I'd like to hear back from one of the parks that they're willing to take this on. And, I mean, it doesn't have to be this meeting, we can table it, have a conversation, so.
Yeah.
The Arbor Board also has a meeting in March, so perhaps a discussion there.
I won't be able to attend that one.
Okay.
But I agree with you.
I mean, I think it's just open dialogue between both boards.
Yep.
Yep, I agree. So we'll move that bad boy to old business. How about that?
Yep, sounds good.
Good? Everybody good? Yep. All right, Leah, board and commission.
I get that.
Marty? I'm with her. Jim?
I have one, February 10th, this Friday at 5 p.m. is the last time you can get in your request for the LCTV grant, so Clock's ticking.
Cliff?
Nothing.
None. Mike, city manager's report.
Monroe Street, at the last council meeting, I had told you that we were waiting any day to go out for bid. Unfortunately, there was some issue with the title work that did delay it. That has been rectified, and the project is waiting approval for Washington DC to get out for bid, hopefully this week or next. And then it'll be a 30-day bid process, and hopefully we can get something back to you in March. The possibility, there might be a possibility we may have to call a special meeting to approve these bids, because I want to be able to move this project forward as fast as I can. Questions for you. Does anybody know how many streets we've paved, or segments of streets we've paved since 2020?
Yeah, you just sent me an email on it. Let me look it up.
Now you.
No, and that was something I was gonna ask
Nine.
tonight.
63.
Can I-
Segments, he said.
Now that
Not whole
everybody's
road.
guessed, can I
Well,
look?
streets or parts of
Parts,
streets?
yeah.
Full streets or parts of streets? Give up 18.
Anyway, they wouldn't let me answer.
Correct. We've done I believe seven streets full replacements, 7 or 8 full replacements, but the remainder we've done work on at least half the street, or areas of the street that we could
I
address.
thought you were including coal patch.
No, that's like 163 streets. That wasn't including, and I also didn't include the sleep,
So much for conservative
Heated.
guessing then.
Yeah.
The Northwest Pump Station is coming along. The last couple of weeks, they've been doing a lot of work out there. They've replaced some of the meters and the pumps, and they've also got the SCADA on board. They're just waiting on making sure everything's approved, and then they'll be able to switch out the booster and be ready to go on that. So that project is near completion. In regards, I was requested by the City Council to prepare a map for you explaining kind of better the situation out at the area of Scott Park and 990 North Washington, and the property that isn't designated anything. So I've sketched that map. Regis has digitized it for me. You'll probably get it today or tomorrow or Wednesday, explaining it better. And then I promise to share it with Bruce's group as well. So that'll be coming. Demo bids are out right now for 990 North Washington. And actually we have we'll have a meeting with the bidders, come out on Wednesday to look at the site. Something else, I've been getting, I got a request, and police, I actually haven't had a chance to talk to Chris about it, but they're seeing a lot of people on the ice on the Flat River playing hockey and things of that nature, and it's really not safe, especially closer to the dam. If something were to happen, you could fall in a hole, and one is real murky, so it's not that your footing is going to be the best, but the bigger issue is depending on where you are near that dam, can suck you through the dam. So we're going to be asking people to stay off the ice on the Flat River as best we can. The due diligence report for the Front Street property is complete. Nicole Mason from BLD will get your next council meeting to discuss that with you. Splash pad, Jerry will be at the next council meeting. And Dan, do you have a quick update about the barns at the fair?
I met with folks down there a couple weeks ago, looking at information that I could find. What I find that the city owns is obviously the King Building, the Foreman Building, but there's also in some of the agreements that talks about the fair office and the show barn next door. Some of them in the agreements says that they're ours, and some say one is and one is in one agreement, one is in another. So they were a little hesitant on those. And then the barns themselves, I believe, are all theirs, and they think they're all theirs as well, the actual barns. And then the only other thing we have a question on is the concession building the Knights of Columbus built. talked with Susie, she checked everything that she could find as far as council minutes, and she can't find anything that indicates when that was built, whose it was going to become. So that was still a gray area. That's where we're at on that.
So,
Oh, you're talking about the guys who built it, the Lowell. I always thought that was ours. Oh,
that's all I have.
okay. Any questions for Mike? Okay, I don't have anything for appointments. Cliff,
What?
final thoughts, concerns?
I'm happy that we can throw another 100,000 at our unfunded pension liability, because I remember we were in the dark yellow, close to red state down our throats. That was what, 2 years, 3 years ago? 2 years ago.
About 3 now, but yeah.
Yeah. So
We're about
are we
7.
getting to the point now where MERS is gonna just leave us alone?
Well, we won't have to file a corrective action plan unless the stock market tanks. But we're about, at least when they did our audited, there's 2 different there's a full actuarial that's done by MERS, which takes into account a lot of different things that the audit doesn't. The audit just basically looks at your liability and your assets. MERS actuarial does a couple other different smoothing things, but that one listed us at 69%. So I anticipate, and I believe we went to 67% in the MERS from last year. When we got our MERS report in June for the year that ended December 31st, 2021, we were at 67%. So I anticipate we'll probably be closer to the 70% range.
You can get through high school on that. Ask me how I know. Jim?
Saturday, we had coffee with the council. There was some attendees. There was one citizen that came in and complained about sidewalks and not taking care of them and everything like that part of it. And we kind of all made a comment that we're more of a complaint-driven city than we should be. After giving some thought about that over Saturday, I'm not sure why we shouldn't always necessarily be complaint-driven. Maybe sometimes we need to take some actions other than that part of it. So we listened, and it was good. There was a lot of good conversations. So thank you for coming.
And I believe that got resolved with a phone call, didn't it?
Yeah, and we also, we've had a couple that we've been proactive on.
Yep.
There was one that I got a lot of complaints on last year. From what I've seen so far, their compliance. There's another one right now. Matter of fact, that I noticed over the weekend was pretty bad. So I did have the police chief follow up with that. So if we see them, we'll
Yeah,
I mean, especially on the main roads, you're going to see them. But I mean, I'm not going to be driving. I'm probably going to be driving down a lot of the streets of the city looking for it either.
I don't need it, but if you're there.
But yeah, if I see it, we're trying to address it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
I'd like to thank Perry for the snow removal. Perry said, I'll take care of it, and
It was just a phone call to a
Yeah.
friend.
correct. But I want to thank you for, it was literally that simple to just make the problem go away. So it was kind of fun that it happened at Coffee with Council, because usually we can't get anything fast and do anything. So it worked. Thank you, Perry. Second of all, Charlie, I'd like to thank you guys for the little project that we asked you to do. There'll be a project coming down the pike here pretty quick, and once we get the logistics of it figured out, I'll be more than happy to let you know. But Light and Power helped us out tremendously with this little project, and it's going to be really cool when it's done. So that's it.
Oh, leave it. I was right there with it.
I was just going to piggyback off of what Jim and Marty sort of said. As far as Coffee with Council, I think that's what Coffee and Council is for, is to create community connection and conversation. And so it's sort of this hub of where we can create connection. So it is easier to call a neighbor and say, hey, I noticed your sidewalks haven't been shoveled. Do you need help doing that? Is there anything I can do to help you? And I think it is just that easy to be neighborly.
Perry proved it that
Yep.
it is that easy.
That's,
so.
yep. That's what it is.
Communication goes a long way sometimes, huh?
Yes, it does.
I don't have anything, Jim.
Mike, I did have one more thing. I did want to thank DPW, Dan, for you guys coming over to help us support and tie down the showboat. It was not properly secured for the east-west winds, and seems to be doing a good job. I looked at it Saturday, and so thank you for that part of it. Now I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:09.
I'll support.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?